Well, welcome back, everybody. This is breakout session 2A, skills, drills, and fun for the long and triple jump. Appreciate those that were here with us for the first session, and welcome back to you. And those that are joining us for the second session, looks like we're ready to go with Willie here. Just a reminder before you go, Willie, at 1:20, we'll have a Q&A with both Willie and Dick Fosbury to talk about jumps. So that'll be a good session with the two of them together. With that, Willie, we'll just turn the time to you.
Thanks so much, Jason. Appreciate it. For those of you who weren't in the last session, we went by pretty quick. If you have a question and you want to put it in the chat, go ahead. I'm happy to answer whatever needs to be answered. So we'll leave it at that. Now, let me share my screen again. Get back to my... There we go. So what we're going to talk about now is different drills and skills and things that you want to do as a coach in order to get your team ready for a competition and through competition as well. So if I'm going too fast, or if you don't understand or something like that, just put it in the chat and they'll stop me and we can get it done. So it's my belief that horizontal jump training should be, any kind of training should be periodized, so that there should be periods that athletes know when they're doing certain things. And it should also be goal oriented. We talked about that in the last session. Not necessarily goals, meaning I want to jump, 7 meters, or I want to jump 21 feet, but it should be more, I want to be able to be X fast, or I want to be X strong, or I want to be X agile. I want to be able to do these exercises in this way. And those are the kind of things that are going to make your training interesting. It's going to be less frustrating for your athletes, and they know what they need to do in order to get better. Drill based, everything should be drills, right? You just drill, drill, drill. It's my philosophy that you use your conscious brain to train, and everything you think about when you're training. Once you step on the performance stage, once you are on the runway, you forget everything. You try and go blank in your mind. You let your subconscious mind take over everything. And therefore, you don't have to think about the run. You don't have to think about the takeoff. You don't have to think about the landing. All you do is go blank and let your subconscious take over, because the subconscious mind can do 4 million things perfectly. And your conscious mind can do 4 things, just okay. So let your subconscious mind take over from the training that you did, and it will do it what you trained it to do perfectly. So then visual and technical. We're in the greatest stage of visual history now, because everything is on YouTube or on Instagram, or something like, you can see everything. So why don't we use that technology? Because most people are visual when it comes to training. If they see it, they can then perform it. Flexible. Everything needs to be flexible, right? You're going to be flexible in your training process. Those of you who live in, outside of San Diego, you have to be worried about the weather. So you got to be flexible, right? Enjoyable always. And if, it always has to be fun. And then something that I think some coaches forget, rest is training. So always be conscious of rest. Even if you have to take a day off of training, that is not a bad thing. That is always a good thing. So let's move into it. So I like to break my periods up into 4 macro cycles. A macro just meaning the general cycle that I'm going to do for an athlete over a certain period of times. Now, if you have 15 weeks of training scheduled, then speed endurance training would probably be about 3 weeks of early training. And speed endurance is what we would call when you're doing over distance. Now, some coaches, like to do cross country. I don't have a problem with it, but I think during track season, I for jumpers, I like to move away from that and get to speed endurance rather than just endurance. Speed endurance would be more like if you're going to run 2 miles, you run the 2 miles, but you go 30 seconds of running and then a minute of walking, and you slowly reduce the amount of walking and the amount of sprint time. So it could be at the end, you're doing 15 seconds or 10 seconds of sprinting and 20 seconds of walking, or 15 seconds of sprinting and 15 seconds of walking for 2 miles. So at least you're getting your athlete on the ball of their foot and they're running and not just jogging. So that's speed endurance. And then as you slowly move to the next couple of weeks, you build in this speed strength. And speed strength is more like pulling pulling something behind the athlete. It's more of doing things that are going to, they'll be running up to speed, but they'll have to work at it. So running up a hill, pulling a sled, running with a parachute, something like that. So they're building strength. So that part is the beginning of your run, where you're building up momentum, and this is very critical to your run. So speed strength is very important. Then you start moving into your jump technique, and that's when you do your short run jumps. You do your technical jumping with your arms. You do your landings. And you build that all in. And don't just use the pit. Use the high jump pit. Use the pole vault pit. Use if you can go to the beach, do that. I keep bringing up San Diego. I don't know why, but you can. All these things are good for building jump technique. And then competition. That's when you start moving into competition. When I put competition, I'm saying not necessarily when you first start competing, but more the league championships, area championships, and state championships. That's when competition really matters. And that's the most important thing for your athlete. So those are the cycles that I look to. Then the 5 microcycles. Now these microcycles happen during each one of the macrocycles. So you're going to be doing running technique, you're going to be doing jumping technique, strength training, agility training, and mental training. All of these cycles happen during each one of the 4 macrocycles. So now let's just talk a little bit about some of the drills. So I think it's important that if you're going to be doing warm-ups, your warm-up shouldn't be static stretching, maybe a jog, and then you get right into it. Your warm-up should include things that are actually going to be useful for horizontal jumpers. So you can do skips to activate your ankles and your gastrocs, the calf muscles. You can do thigh drives to activate your quads. You can do straight leg runs to activate your hamstrings and your glutes. Think of these drills as ways to activate and get the blood flowing in each part of the body that is going to be doing the jumping, and use those drills. And what I'd like to do is maybe measure out 30 meters, have the athlete do a drill and then walk back, do another drill and walk back. That's one way of doing it. When I was training in '88, my coach had me do something else where we would run around the track and do different drills as we're going around. And I was doing them with Mike Powell. And whenever we got out to do our warm up and do these drills, we were trying to kill each other. Now, for high schoolers, maybe you don't want to do this, but we were going as hard as we could. We would do 1/8 of the lap as a jog, and then we do another 8. So every 100 meters, we'd be doing a different drill: skips, bounds, straight leg runs, high knee runs, pushes, all these different drills all the way around the track twice. And it was a great drill, and it kept both of us in top condition. Running drills. All of you have your own type of running drill you like to do. But when we talk running drills, we're talking about doing the running correctly, using the proper technique. This is critical. So each one of you should, have different types of running drills that you can give the athletes. And that could include running backwards, sideways walking, crab walking. These kinds of things will help. It gets the athlete, all the muscles in the athlete's body flowing, and the drill will help exercise those techniques that it takes in order to run fast. Of course, bounding, for those of you who know what bounding is, you can do hops, you can do one-legged bound, you can do alternate leg bounds, different bounding, jumping drills. You can see all these here. Now I'm going to give you some examples on video that you can take a look at. I'm going to go to drills first, box drills. Now, this is an old video, and I was using boxes that were about a foot high. I've now come to the conclusion that you don't really need high boxes. What you need is a landing platform so that people know how far they have to jump. So that could be as high as an inch. In fact, they have these little tiles that you can throw out there, and then the athlete can just jump. So it's basically the idea of jumping to a spot. Now, as the athlete gets better and more professional, you can raise the height of the box so that they actually jump on and off of something. And let me just show you the drill when they really get good.
The box drill, or depth jumping, is a critical exercise. This drill strengthens legs as well as sharpens your timing. The box should be anywhere from 1 foot to 2 feet high by 2 feet wide by 2 feet long. The box should be designed in such a way that it can be stacked securely on top of another.
Now let me move this along.
Boxes should be placed about 15 feet apart, as measured from the middle of each box. Do the bounding exercises on the boxes. First, single leg bounding. Then alternate legs. Now bound as if you are triple jumping.
So what you see there is the different bounds, but this is not just for triple jump. It's also for long jump, high jump. Bounding is an incredible thing, but the box drill adds an added strength part to it that's very necessary to get stronger. Even sprinters in the old Soviet Union, quote unquote, they used to do these to strengthen their athletes in the run. And Valery Bortsov used to use this as a way for his sprinting. As you know, he won a gold medal in 100 meters. So box drills are very important. Now let's move on to something else. Here's a drill for triple jumpers, but it can also be used in the long jump. It's called the 2-minute drill.
Stride approach and triple jump into the pit. The object is to do as many proper triple jumps as you can into the pit within a 2-minute limit. Remember to concentrate on body position. When you become tired, will yourself to excellence. Maintain proper technique. Take note.
So this is really a coach's drill. The athlete is doing the drill, jumping, jumping, jumping. But the object is when they get tired, they're going to start making mistakes. And it's your job to help focus them on doing the drill correctly. So when they're in competition, when they get tired, they can draw on that, and their subconscious mind will help them to jump even further in those latter jumps.
Take a 3.
So we talked about that video, the fact that everything is so visual nowadays. So use these things, videos, internet, YouTube sessions. You could record the sessions. Everybody has Coach's Eye or some kind of software that they can use on their phone. We got these phones. It's just amazing. I wish I would have had them when I was jumping. So watch these videos and watch the best, but also watch the worst too, so that athletes have an understanding of why someone is doing it and why someone is getting better performances. When you talk about flexibility, I don't just mean how you stretch, but I also talk about, and I hate this, but I also talk about the flexibility of your training schedule, the flexibility of your exercises, your training program, your meet schedule, the event activities like cross training, your psychology. It should all be flexible. And of course, everything should be enjoyable. You should have fun, challenging, enjoyable, and yes, again, fun training sessions with your athletes, because the more relaxed they are, the better they're going to be able to do what they do. Rest is critical. And for those coaches who just think you just have to push your athletes, I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum then, because I think that an athlete is going to understand and do things more when they're able to rest and inculcate that into their subconscious, because as I said, the subconscious mind is what's actually doing the jumping. So give your athletes rest, give them cross training, let them have time to really incorporate what it is you're trying to teach them. So let's see. So now really a summary and questions. So I really like questions for this. So if you have a question, just write it in the chat. And if we don't have any questions, I guess I could riff, but I'm going to get out of this. Stop sharing my screen. Okay, looks like we do have some questions maybe. With limited time, with athletes who jump and sprint, how do you recommend incorporating drills, lifting, plyos, and conditioning? So the good thing about a training session, even in an hour or an hour and a half, you can get a whole lot done if you incorporate these things into drills. So as we were talking earlier, you have a limited amount of time to do jumps and sprint, but I incorporate both in the same. So if you're a jumper, you have to be a sprinter. So on some days you'll be with the sprinters, on some days you'll be with the jumpers, but you'll still be doing sprinting because that's what, jumpers have to do. And the other thing is, like I was saying earlier, my warm up was probably more difficult than my training, for sure. 2 laps going all out with Mike Powell. Before I got to practice, I had to warm up. I mean, that's how tough it was. So if you incorporate the different drills in your warm up, you don't have to do them during the training session. Most professional trainers, they don't work their athletes for more than about an hour of real training. Everything else is just the other parts of training, like going off and doing your running. Lifting and plyos, nowadays it's probably best if you have part of your lifting out on the field. If you're able to have a bar out on the field and have them doing some lifting right before they start doing their exercises, so that they engage their muscles. And that's all you're doing. Everything we do is to engage the muscle groups so that they learn how to act. And remember, plyos are like bounding, okay? In fact, plyos are bounding. Jump rope, bounding. There's a lot of different things I I mean, it's like jump rope, even things like standing on one leg with your eyes closed and trying to balance is a great exercise because it strengthens the hips, it strengthens your knees, and it actually activates your ankles. And it makes for a great exercise, and it's fun too. Let's see. Teaching timing. Tips to teach timing. Timing is all about your swing leg and your swing arm. And when we talk about timing, it's more, not so much a focus of you, it's more a focus of the drills that you've created and building into those drills the way your body works, your swing. Let me see if I can make that a little bit more clear. So if you're doing the long jump, you don't talk about the timing of the leg sling. What you talk about is making sure that the knee is driving through and then up, and your thigh blocks at a certain time. I may be missing exactly what it is you're trying to get from me, but if you write more detail, maybe I can answer it more specifically. But trust me, timing is all about the swing of your appendages. Do you have any tips for second phase of the triple jump? Second phase of the triple jump comes from the first phase. So once you leave the board and you're in your hop and you land on the hop, if both knees are not within a few inches of each other, you're going to have a crummy triple jump phase, second phase. Remember that the knee has to come through. So I don't know if you can see this, but so they're timed up like this. So when the thigh goes up, the other's pushing. And that's what gives you the distance in your step, the second phase. It's where the knees come. If it's behind, you're going to collapse. If it's in front, you're going to collapse. It has to be together. It's science. It's the physics of gravity. If you have a platform, boom, like this, it's easy. If it's split, the gravity is split between your legs and it drives your hips down, and then you can't get off the ground. So be watching for the knee swing as it comes off of the hop into the step. Make sure it's somewhere in this area and not way back here or not way back here. It has to be in this area. And then it's easy to get up off of a hop into your step. Also, your arms have to be timed up. So when you look at a jumper from the side, it should be one straight line, everything aligned. The head, the shoulder, the legs, the arms, all should be aligned together. And then you'll be able to do a better step. How can you get as much consistency as possible in your stride approaching a jump? Remember, as I was saying, once you get up to speed, your stride length doesn't change. Now I'm talking about an athlete who is strong enough to run properly. Once you have the proper strength and technique for running, your stride length doesn't change significantly over 8 strides. Building up to those 8 strides, it changes like crazy. You just want to make sure that the foot lands at that star location. Let me see if I can go back to that. But if it gets to the star location, then you have your athlete has a great opportunity to hit the board correctly. So right here is the star location. The board foot hits here in the location. The stride pattern is not going to change all the way through the board. It won't change significantly to that 8th stride. Leading up to it, that's a whole nother story. But so long as their foot hits that board foot, you're going to be fine. It won't change. Let me see. Is there a time frame, 4 to 6 seconds, for the approach that is desired? So this is something that there's still the question is still out there. In other words, it hasn't been resolved. Of course, the more speed you have, the further you can go. But if it's out of control speed, you won't go anywhere. You'll crash and burn. It has to be controlled speed. And then the other thing is there's some athletes who jump better slower. And that's because they're able to drive a lot easier. They have better momentum than when their legs are getting out of control. So again, it's all about control. The last thing is the fastest athlete is not the best jumper. We have to understand that. So I can't really put a time frame on it. I just have to tell you that the faster your athlete is, as they slow down for control, the faster they will be at the board. And that's both in the long and the triple. So what I would say about that, again, is to time them and then see if they can increase their time increase their time as they get better jumps. And then you apply that as they're running. So if you're at a meet and they're not jumping very fast and you've timed them in that last little bit, you can tell them, well, you're running too slow. You gotta pick it up. So you have that in your back pocket. That's not for them, that's for you. I can't see what it says. Concerning the second phase of triple. I think we talked about that, but am I missing something, Catherine? You write that in there. Did I miss anything? Okay, how much more time do we have? We have a little bit, huh?
I think we've got about 10 minutes, Willie.
Okay, great. Just waiting the timing because they are quick with the last two phases. Wanting the timing. When you mean they're quick with the last two phases, do you mean they get a nice long first phase, and then the last phase are boom boom, like it's boom boom boom? Okay, I got it. Yeah. So this is typical of especially an athlete who long jumps and uses the same long jump leg off the triple jump board. And that's one of the reasons I switched, because I could long jump like crazy, but the opposite leg, I couldn't. So using the speed off the runway with my non-long jump leg, non-high jump leg, enabled me to use that speed to go far. And then when the speed dissipated, I could use my long jump leg to go far in the last phase. So a couple of things you can do for your athletes when they do that. First thing is, of course, you could switch legs on them and make them learn how to do the triple jump the correct way. Or you can push them to getting their, once they come off the board, they have to be pushing off the board. They're jumping off the board. So don't let them jump off the board. Force them to push off the board. And the way to do that is to get their body closer to the board, past the board as they slam down their foot down on the board. So how do I explain that better? In other words, you need your body, when you take off from the triple jump, is closer than the board to the board than in the long jump. In fact, once they get up to speed and they get good at it, they will pass the board before they even leave, before the foot leaves the board. Their body will pass the board. And that flattens out the jump. And then as their legs cycle through, when they hit the ground with that foot, it will, and if they're bringing the knee, like I was talking about before, the knee through together, so they're lined up together, they won't be able to do the quick one. They'll get a nice long step, and then that in turn will lead to a nice long jump phase. However, because they're jumping on the opposite foot of your long and your triple, the jump phase won't be very long because they're not used to it. And that's why I switch my athletes. I hope that helps. So going back to something that I just kind of glossed over, and that was the start. Now, a lot of people think that, a static start, when you just stand there and go, is a good way of starting. And I have no problem with that. The only thing I would say is that, remember, you really don't start your run until you're 8 strides down, until you're 8 strides away from the board. So that star that I talked about before, that starred the board foot right there, that's when the run actually starts. So it doesn't matter what happens so long as you land on that foot. Now, when I did mine, it kind of confused a lot of people. In fact, if you read some of the old Russian analysis of my jump on my run, it was really crazy what they were talking about. But basically, I used 8 strides to, and it wasn't strides, like a couple of walks, a little bit of a skip, a little whatever. And that was basically to get rid of my jitters. And then I would hit a mark, and that was 16 strides out. And from that mark, that was the beginning of my quote unquote run. And basically that was 8 strides of pushing, trying to build up speed. And when I hit that 8th stride, then I was up tall and running, and then I jumped. So all in all, it was 24 strides. That's crazy town. But they didn't understand it was really 16, and actually it was only 8. It was 8 strides. But in my head, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's how I did my run. And I think that if you focus more on the last 8 strides and making sure they hit your marker, which is that board foot, and I'll put it once again back on then you don't have to worry about your athlete making the mistakes. They're going to land on the board. They're going to be on the board and they'll be very successful. Remember, the 4 to 8 strides before the board foot is just the power. Is just building up speed, building up force or power. And then you build up speed on the last 8 strides, and then you take off. Simple. Okay. So one other thing I want to touch base on, and that is always making things fun. And so when you make things fun, it relaxes your athletes and it helps them to get better, especially in a technical event. Because there's so many things to learn, they get frustrated. Your athletes get frustrated. So from time to time, you got to take them away from the track, and you got to do other things like a hill or stairs or the pool or something that's going to get their mind away from it, because then their mind can change. Now, Jason has a son here that was fidgety one day, and we sat down and I created a little bit of a game, and the game was basically just dropping a straw and having his son catch the straw, and he was having trouble doing it. And I told him, I said, stop thinking about it. In fact, look at me. Don't look at the straw. And I dropped it and he caught it. And he was amazed. But what I was trying to show him, and what I want to explain to you all, is that that's your subconscious mind reacting to something rather than your conscious mind trying to do something, which gets things wrong all the time. So let your athletes build in this natural way of doing things, which is building in the exercise into your subconscious so it can be done perfectly. Okay, so I think we're at time now. So Jason?
I think they just gave us the 5-minute warning, Willie. So we've got a minute if there's a final question or a final thought. Or a virtual straw you want to see if I can catch, whatever.
All right. Well, it looked like we only had a minute and a half or so, but I just wanted to thank everyone for listening to this. And I hope you all are, enjoyed it. And I hope that your athletes will succeed this year. It's been a real rough year for all of us, but the fact that you're here and the fact that we're doing all this is great for our sport. And if you get an opportunity, please go online to World Athletics and fill out a questionnaire. It's called the Global Conversation. I got a question. How do you overcome frustration with the triple jump? I think we just talked a little bit about it. Stop triple jumping. That's the best way. Go away from the triple jump, do something else, and come back to it. The frustration with the triple jump has to do with not going far. And that should never be the problem. The frustration, it's not the triple jump. It's this: you're either not strong, you're not fast, or you're not agile. So make them do something else besides the triple jump, meaning stairs, meaning get in a pool and do the triple jump. Get in a, go off the diving board doing the triple jump. Do something different. Make it fun. Dance. That's what I did. I danced a lot because that's agility. Because once they're strong, fast, and agile, triple jump's a piece of cake. All right, I'm going to leave it right there.
All right, that's a great place to end. I know they're going to take us back to the main session here in a minute. Really, if you all join me, we'll give a quick hand to Willie for a couple of great sessions here. We are going to go away. We'll go back to the main session, take a break, and then we'll come back with a question and answer with both Willie and Dick Fosbury. So we can talk more about the triple and the long jump. Welcome to ask Dick questions about the high jump, or we can just ask him about life in general. So go ahead and stick around. They'll take us back to the main room here in just a few minutes, and we'll take a break and come back. So thank you again, Willie. Fantastic session.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.